Have you ever wished your code could do things again and again without you writing the same lines over and over? Welcome to the world of loops, one of the most powerful concepts in programming. Whether you're printing a message 5 times, checking inputs until they're valid, or repeating steps in a game, loops are your go-to tool for automation and repetition. In this video, we'll explore the 3 core loops in C++, the for loop, perfect when you know how many times to repeat; the while loop, great when you keep going until a condition changes; and the do-while loop, which always runs at least once. We'll break each one down, look at real code, highlight common mistakes, and even do a live coding example. So if you're ready to level up your coding logic, let's jump into loops in C++. So, what exactly is a loop in programming? A loop is a way to tell the computer, repeat this block of code until a certain condition is met. Think of it like setting an alarm, you keep sleeping until the alarm rings. Or like brushing your teeth every morning, a task that repeats regularly. In code, loops help us automate repetition. Instead of writing the same line 5 times, we write it once, and loop through it. Let's start with the most common loop, the for loop. It's perfect when you know exactly how many times something should repeat. Think of counting from 1 to 10, or printing a message 5 times, this is where the for loop shines. The structure is simple, yet powerful: for, int I equals 0, I less than 5, I plus plus. Cout hello. End L. Let's break it down. Int I equals 0, this is the initialization. It runs once at the start. I less than 5, this is the condition. The loop continues as long as this is true. I plus plus, this is the increment. It runs after each loop iteration. So what happens here? First, I is set to 0. Then, the condition I less than 5 is checked. If true, the code inside the loop runs, printing hello. Then I increases by 1. The loop checks the condition again, and repeats. The loop will stop when I reaches 5. So the message prints 5 times, for I equals 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4, with just a few lines of code, you control powerful repetition. This makes the for loop ideal for tasks like counting iterations, traversing arrays, running fixed duration animations. It's predictable, clean, and easy to read, perfect for beginners and pros alike. Now let's move on to the while loop, the loop that runs while a condition is true. This type of loop is perfect when you don't know in advance how many times something will repeat. You just want it to keep going as long as a certain condition holds. Here's what a basic while loop looks like: int x equals 0, while x less than 3. Cout x end L, x plus plus. So what's happening here? First, we set x to 0. The loop checks the condition: is x less than 3? If yes, it prints the value of x, then increases it by 1. Then it loops back and checks the condition again. It keeps going until x reaches 3. The output will be 0, 1, 2. This kind of loop is great for validating user input until it's correct, waiting for data to be ready, repeating logic while reading a file. But here's the catch: if you forget to update your loop variable or exit condition, you might end up with an infinite loop. For example, int x equals 0, while true. Cout x end L, oops. No x plus plus here. In this case, the loop condition is always true, and we forgot to increment x. The result? The program prints 0 forever, and never stops. Infinite loops do have valid uses, like keeping a program or game running. But if you're not careful, they can freeze your app or even crash your system. So always make sure your loop has a clear way to end, unless you want it to run forever, on purpose. Now let's explore the third type of loop in C++, the do-while loop. This loop is unique because it always runs at least once, no matter what. Why? Because the condition is checked after the code block executes, not before. Here's the structure: int y equals 5, do. Cout y and l, y++, while, y less than 3, let's walk through it step by step. First, y is set to 5. The code inside the do block runs immediately, printing 5. Only after that, the condition y less than 3 is checked. Since 5 is not less than 3, the loop ends. See what happened? The code block executed even though the condition was already false. That's the power, and the purpose, of the do-while loop. It's especially useful when you need to show a menu at least once. You want to ask the user for input and validate it afterward. You want to repeat something at least once, and only stop based on feedback. Let's say you're building a program that asks a user for a password. You want the prompt to show up at least once, and repeat if it's wrong: string password, do. Cout enter password. In the password, while password not equal to admin123, the loop keeps asking until the correct password is typed. But even if the user gets it right on the first try, the prompt still appears once. So to summarize, for loops equals fixed repetitions, while loops equals flexible but conditional. Do while equals guaranteed one run, condition checked afterward. Choose the right loop for the right task, and you'll write better, smarter code. Alright, now that you've seen all three loop types, let's take a moment to compare them side by side. They all serve the same purpose, repeating a block of code, but they each have their own ideal use case. First, the for loop. Use it when you know exactly how many times something should repeat. It's compact, clean, and perfect for counting, iterating over arrays, or running a loop a fixed number of times. Next, the while loop. Use it when the number of repetitions isn't known ahead of time. You just keep going while a condition remains true. It's flexible, but you have to be careful to update your condition to avoid infinite loops. Finally, the do while loop. This one's special. It's the only loop that guarantees at least one run, because it checks the condition after the block. It's perfect when your code must execute before you even care about the condition, like user input, menus, or setup routines. Here's a quick visual summary. Let's now break it down into a clear comparison table. We're comparing four key aspects: the loop type, when the condition is checked, whether the loop runs at least once, and the ideal situation to use it. First, the for loop. It checks the condition before the loop starts. It does not guarantee at least one execution. And it's ideal when you know exactly how many times the loop should run, like counting or iterating over arrays. Next, the while loop. Just like for, it also checks the condition before running. So again, it might not run at all if the condition is false at the beginning. It's the best choice when you don't know the loop count in advance, for example, waiting for a user action or input. And finally, the do while loop. This one is unique. It checks the condition after the loop executes. That means it always runs at least once, no matter what. It's ideal when the loop body must run first, such as showing a menu or prompting the user before validating. So remember, use for fixed, predictable loops. Use while when conditions drive the loop. And use do while when at least one run is always required. Each loop is a tool, and just like in real life, choosing the right tool makes your code smarter, cleaner, and easier to maintain. Before we wrap up, let's talk about some of the most common mistakes beginners make when working with loops, and how you can avoid them. Mistake 1: Infinite loops. This happens when the loop's condition never becomes false. For example, int I equals 0, while I less than 5. Cout I and l, oops. Missing I++. In this case, I stays 0 forever. The loop never ends, and that can crash your program or freeze your system. Always make sure the loop condition will eventually fail, and update your loop variables correctly. Mistake 2: Off by one errors. This is when your loop runs one time too many, or one time too few. For example, for int I equals 1, I equals 5, I plus plus. Cout I end L, this prints 1 to 5, great. But if you write I less than 5 by mistake, you only get 1 to 4. So always double check your start, stop, and condition. Mistake 3, declaring variables inside the loop. Watch out for declaring variables inside loops that don't need to be redeclared. For instance, for int I equals 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. Int x equals 0, unnecessary, resets every time. X plus equals I, cout x end L. Here, x gets reset to 0 on every iteration, so it never accumulates any value. If your variable should hold memory across iterations, declare it outside the loop. Mistake 4, using the wrong loop type. Don't use a for loop when you don't know the number of repetitions, you'll struggle with logic. Similarly, don't use a while loop when a for would be simpler and more readable. Always choose the loop that fits the task. The right loop makes your code easier to read, debug, and maintain. These mistakes are easy to make, but also easy to avoid once you understand the logic clearly. Let's bring everything together in one simple program using all 3 loop types. We'll write code that prints the numbers from 1 to 5, once with a for loop, once with a while loop, and again with a do-while loop. First up, the for loop, for int I equals 1, I less than or equal to 5, I plus plus. Cout I. Clean, simple, and ideal for this task. Next, same logic using a while loop, int j equals 1, while j less than or equal to 5. Cout j. J plus plus. Slightly more flexible, but requires careful setup of the counter. Finally, let's try it with a do-while loop, int k equals 1, do. Cout k. K plus plus, while k less than or equal to 5, all 3 give us the same output, 1 2 3 4 5. But the way they get there is different. Each loop gives you control, you just have to choose which style fits your situation best. And this is why understanding loops is so important, it's not just about repeating, it's about doing it intelligently. Time for a quick check. Let's see if you were paying attention. Question 1. Which loop is best when you know exactly how many times to repeat something? A. While. B. Do while. C. For. If you picked C, for, you're absolutely right. Question 2. Which loop will always run at least once, even if the condition is false? A. For. B. Do while. C. While. The answer is B. Do while. Because the condition is checked after the loop runs. Loops are powerful, and now, you know when and how to use them. Awesome job reaching the end of this lesson on loops in C++. Today, you learned the 3 major types, for loops, when you know the exact count. While loops, for flexible, condition-based repetition. Do-while loops, when one guaranteed run is needed. You also saw real-world examples, common mistakes to avoid, and how each loop works in practice. If you made it this far, give yourself a high five. You're leveling up as a C++ developer. In the next video, we'll dive into something that works hand in hand with loops. Logical operators, like and, or, and not, the tools that control how and when decisions happen in code. So if you enjoyed this lesson, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, so you never miss a new episode. See you in the next one, and until then, keep coding smart.